President Obama yesterday called the shooting an act of terror and an act of hate. He never used the words radical Islam. Watch this.
The shooter was apparently armed with a handgun and a powerful assault rifle. This massacre is therefore a further reminder of how easy it is for someone to get their hands on a weapon that lets them shoot people in a school or in a house of worship or a movie theater or in a nightclub. And we have to decide if that's the kind of country we want to be.
With us now, Sirius XM Patriot host and Fox News contributor David Webb. It seems to me that the President and Hillary Clinton are trying to make this an issue of law enforcement, where you bring in the police force and you bring in the lawyers and you use the courts. I don't think you agree with that, do you?
No. As a matter of fact, you talk about outrage and anger. This is an incredibly evil act. That's what you feel this morning?
Yes.
I'm going to simplify this. For the President and Hillary Clinton who want to make this about the gun, not the person using it, the SWAT team used a gun to stop this killer. The fact is, the gun is an instrument, no matter what you want to call it. They're disingenuous. They're hoping the willfully ignorant or ignorant in society will buy into this and continue their march against the Second Amendment and against the rights of people to protect themselves. And we shouldn't get lost in their argument. We've got to stop getting in the wrong argument, bring this back to the evil that is radical Islam. I agree, the prior conversation, this is not a lone wolf. They ascribe to an ideology. The general is also right. Yes, they're going to come over here, they're going to commit more acts. They're already here if they ascribe to the ideology, whether they're born here or not. But we have to start wiping this out in as many ways as possible.
Which means surveillance. Enhanced surveillance inside the United States, which at the moment we cannot do. In fact, here in New York City...
No, we can do it. We choose not to do it.
In New York City, we chose not to do it. We abandoned it.
We went after the mob by going into the restaurants in Little Italy and in Brooklyn and in other areas. We use surveillance. These radicals are coming out of mosques. They are known. We have an imam at Rikers Island who is guilty of preaching outright hate and destruction. Why aren't we looking at these people? That is a fact. Many stories have been done on this. Over the years, statements on video, you can Google these things and look at it. And you look at our response. Our response is what this president and Hillary Clinton want, and this is why they are dangerous for this country, because they want to hide their heads in the sand.
Our legal system will not allow what you want. If you go if you go after someone on the grounds that they're a Muslim preaching
No, not on the grounds they're a Muslim. If you know the problem occurs in certain areas or originates potentially, surveillance is legal. Profiling is a tool of law enforcement to look for a certain type of person or persons that may commit these acts, and you follow this. This is called investigation. The ball was dropped here. The ball was also dropped because politically they're afraid to identify a Muslim man who is making statements, Nidal Hassan, with the army. They ignored the obvious threat. This was predictable, maybe not preventable, but this man was obvious.
Yes, he was. I mean, he was reported to the authorities because he'd made outrageous statements.
He was investigated. He was interviewed. All of these things are part of the investigative process, but where does it drop? Where does it end?
It drops because in this case, I'll bet, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that the employer was very worried about taking action against someone who had used hate speech because they're a Muslim.
We have statements from
coworkers. We're so sensitive about this.
Okay, so here we have an employer, the largest contractor. This is the largest government contractor, essentially private armies that work for different services, CIA and otherwise. They have someone that is licensed, that obviously is able to not only get a gun legally, he used the process,
he did,
but commit the act. So we're back to where I started. It's the person committing the act, not the weapon or instrument being used. Gun, machete, car bomb, bottle bomb, V-bed, IED, whatever. These are all the instruments that are used.
Okay, I think you agree with all of us. Our predominant emotion this morning is anger, correct?
It's not just anger, but we've got to stop getting into the wrong argument. The politicians
How many times do we have to go through this?
As many times as Obama can lie to the American people, as many times as Hillary can lie to the American people about the issue rather than facing the issue.
Hey, you're just getting started, I can tell. But we've got to go. David Webb, thank you very much, sir. We'll be listening to your radio show. Thanks.